from the academia, we would like to hear, first of all, your opinion before we even ask who exactly is Trump, what kind of personality he is, because we have never had anything like that in our bilateral relations with the U.S. government. So first of all, your gut reaction on this pronouncement.
It's uncalled for, it's needless, it's unacceptable, and it's undiplomatic, apolitical, disrespectful to Nigeria, not only as a nation or as a country, but equally as a people. It is a affront on the side of the Nigerian government. It is against the sovereign nature and status of this country, and above all, at least it runs counter to every common sense and sense of humanity.
It is most unfortunate, but when I saw it, I laughed it out because it is a product of unthoughtfulness. It is a product of irrational decisions taken out of gross misconception about the complexity of Nigeria.
I think it's important that leaders understand that they must guard their utterances. It is equally important that leaders gauge their impulses. You cannot be a leader and be impulsive. That could spark a lot of, it could boomerang. That's essentially the point I'm making. However, you see, the false narrative that has been put out there by naysayers and destructive elements amongst us in Nigeria, domestically speaking, and of course Nigerians in the diaspora, is creating a dangerous precedent. The reality is this is a false narrative. It is obvious. Credible channels have revealed data, information that is backed with statistics that proves and shows that there is no such thing as a genocide going on in this country, which we will perhaps, if we have time, come to understand the term genocide in itself. So I think that has to be tackled and checked as quickly as possible. We need to begin to become as proactive, either as citizens or as leaders. Because you see, when the catastrophe comes, there will be an implosion. It will not explode, it's an implosion, and nobody goes out. We will not escape. We will all be consumed by it.
I am not frightened. I am not annoyed. It is very much expected from a character like Donald Trump. Like I've said earlier, I don't pity Nigerians, I pity Americans, in whose soil and under whose command he is issuing all these particular threats and taking such actions. So to me, if you look at the character of the American president today, is somebody who is off mark, who is out of control, who lacks the common sense of taking common decisions for the purpose of achieving common objectives as enshrined in the Constitution of America. It is against the conventional posture of America as far as international relations is concerned. It is against the American traditions of maintaining its allies and protecting its friends internationally, because Nigeria is an American ally for the past 40 years. Quite often than not, Nigeria even surrendered her own sovereign posture in order to bend backward, in order to accommodate American interests internationally and even nationally. So what is happening today, to sum it up, is a true reflection of the personality of the President of the United States of America. If it did not happen, I will have been surprised. But now that it is happening, it is true to type. He is now living up to our expectations. And that has been the fear of a lot of countries of the world, including world leaders, in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, in the Middle East, in South America, all in oceanic republics. Everywhere you go on earth before the elections, the fear of an average, responsible citizen on earth, humanity on earth, the human family on earth was afraid of Trump's emergence as American's president because they fear what is happening today. And as far as I'm concerned, as far as academia is concerned, based on the various records available to academic world, what is happening today is only the tip of the iceberg.
I think he does most of talking before going back to think. And he is being misinformed about the complexity of Nigeria. That is one angle. If he try, he will never dare any longer in his life. If he can have such a gross misconception, despite their back-to-back following of Iran for more than 4 decades, yet they underestimated the unity of Iranian. They thought that when they started bombing and taking out all the military strategists and head of military institutions of Iran in the 12 days old war, that Iran will collapse automatically and the people will take onto the street and they will displace their leadership. How wrong were they? Instead, Israel was going to collapse as a state.
Trump goofed. Trump, this is the greatest goof of his life. I'm telling you, Nigeria is not as strong as Iran. We are not. In terms of national cohesion, national sovereignty posture, national military and security consciousness and readiness, we cannot compare with Iran. Nigeria is not Russia, because Russia is far ahead of Nigeria in terms of all that I have mentioned. Nigeria is not China, but Nigeria is better than all those 3 countries that I mentioned in terms of mental insanity if it comes to Nigerianness. Let me assure Trump in particular and Americans in general. I'm telling you, just like America left Afghanistan with its tail in between its legs as a running dog, is going to leave Nigeria with its half of its tail in between of its legs and 2 of its legs crippled. Because Nigerians have that mental insanity to defend its interests, its national interests, its national policies, and its national sovereignty. And I can assure Trump in particular, not Americans, Trump in particular, Donald Trump, listen very carefully. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not a pushover.
Does the United States or Trump or anybody for that matter have the legal authority to invade a sovereign country, whether Nigeria, any other, or even Venezuela? Do you have that legal right? Does the United... We're guided by laws. We live in an international rule-based order system, one that was created chiefly by the United States, because today it houses the United Nations. So the question becomes, what is the legality? And it is obviously not there. The United Nations Convention 1946 speaks to the sovereignty, the respect for the sovereignty and territorial integrity of nation states.
And of Al-Qaeda, Al-Nusra fronts, and all, what do you call it? All manners of terrorism that were created as unconventional armies for the running of their arms interest. So, and these people, they killed even more Muslims than Christians in Nigeria. Boko Haram killed more Muslims than Christians. I am aware of this because the demographic of incidences and things of that nature. So, I think he's being grossly misinformed, and there is no need for him to make such an misadventure towards Nigeria, because they will live to regret it.
The character of Trump has been called to question a number of times. This is somebody who is bombing boats and so on the Strait of Venezuela under the guise of these individuals being terrorists. This is somebody who kept mute as far as killings in Gaza and other parts of the world is concerned. This is somebody who has never, been rational in expressing views. He has always flip-flopped as far as issues are concerned, whether they be political, economic, or otherwise. So, you see, the character of the individual is called to question once again. And so, therefore, I think the world needs to understand the man we're dealing with. especially at a time like this where the world is urging closest to a third world war, especially at a time like this where the man who is at the helms of affairs of the most powerful country in the world appears to be narcissistic and he has his finger on a nuclear football.
As journalists, you are being conditioned by your professional ethics and conduct. To me, as an academic, I'm not bounded by that. And as far as it's not a conspiracy theory, it is a theory that is scientific, that is objective, that is official, that is internationally recognized, that America has been the sole funder of all terrorists on earth. Vertically and horizontally. If America is not funding directly, America is funding by proxy. Who created ISWAP? Who created Al-Qaeda? Who created ISIS? Who created Boko Haram? Who created? Everything that is created against humanity, you can see the hands and the spirit of America behind it. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a reality. American government, American leadership is always ready, willing, and able to create injury, not only on humanity, but on Americans themselves for the selfish interest of the leadership. Historically, there is evidences for that. One, they say Saddam had weapons of mass destruction as an alibi, as a justification. They went into Iraq. When they controlled the 48 billion barrels of crude oil reserves in Iraq, they said they are very sorry. They apologized. There was no weapons of mass destruction. They say Iran is building a nuclear arsenals. Iran says her nuclear reactors are for peaceful distance. They went into Iraq. They couldn't find any. But they have already went into Iraq to bomb. And I believe in the next 10, 20 years, they will apologize. They say Libya is funding terrorism. They went into kill Gaddafi, took over Libyan's oil now. They could not justify that. But they went into Afghanistan in early 2000. That Al-Qaeda is this, Al-Qaeda is that, Osama bin Laden is this. Now Al-Qaeda chased them away. They couldn't find anything, and Al-Qaeda is back on the leadership of Afghanistan. Look, they are in Lumumbashi. They are in Kivu in Congo. They are now in Sudan. For 30 years, they were on the back of El Nameri of Sudan and the rest, that they are killing Christians in southern Sudan. They must be given their own sovereignty. And now they gave sovereignty to southern Sudan, and the next day America stepped in and took over the land. And they are now controlling those. And up till today, so there is no peace in southern Sudan. They are not Muslims, they are all Christians, but there is no peace. Now, Sudan, the northern Sudan now is enjoying their peaceful, they brought in funders, and they are having problem with RSF. So you see, wherever look, I can assure you, and there is a scientific proof for that, wherever there is a smoke of insecurity on earth, the flame of the smoke is coming from Washington.